So what's the Get Down?
Hip hop culture lifestyle show.
My name is Bentley Kyle Evans, and what's the Get Down? You know, I've been a part of some monumental sitcoms, in my opinion, like Martin.
All right.
You know, showrunner and co-executive producer, and
we are talking about the Martin with the Martin Lawrence, and
and
all of that, right? That's what we're talking about.
No question.
What did you do? And so I can understand. I'm just trying to get clarification.
Well, I was executive producer, head writer.
Mm-hmm.
I probably wrote the most Martin episodes out of all the episodes that are on the air, and I was the only writer.
Yes, sir.
That started on Martin, and when the show ended, I was still there. Out of all the writers that came and went.
And that's that same show that comes on religiously on just about every black channel you can possibly think of, correct?
Yeah.
VH1.
And VH1,
and,
MTV.
All of that.
All
MTV,
of them, BT Plus. But we started on Fox. We set the Fox network on fire.
Yes, sir.
Us and In Living Color, but we set the Fox network on fire. Mm-hmm. What Martin, meaning Martin Lawrence, was able to do was be confident enough in his vision to see it all the way through.
Right.
And bring great people to the project. And I just happened to be one of those ones that he believed in me. And I got 100% in his corner and behind him and said, hey man, I'm rocking with you no matter what. Let's take this thing and let's make a classic here. However, when we were making the show, we didn't know it was gonna be a classic. How could you know? We just were some young men that decided to do something positive at the time. We could have got involved in anything that was going on, but instead it was like, no, let's choose good over evil. Let's go positive with it. Let's put a good show together. Let's make the people laugh. We were up for the same role, and we just clicked at the audition. We were hanging out, and we were some young cats, and he was like, what you do? And where you from? I'm like, I'm from LA. And just kind of started vibing, and we kind of created a friendship. I was drawn to him because I loved he was everything that I wasn't. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I think that I probably had some of those.
What do you mean, like outgoing?
What I mean by that is he had a certain toughness, a certain edge that I didn't have, because I'm a laid back, I'm an LA cat. He was from that East Coast, and he had that like, I'm coming out here to get it.
Little dude, that little short
Hey,
dude.
let me tell you something. He might be smaller in stature, but he's got a heart of a giant.
Yes, sir.
I seen him climb some big buildings, and I seen him stand up to the toughest of the tough.
Right.
And because he believed in his POV, his point of view was everything, and he had one. And it was like, watching this giant of a man stand up to these executives and tell them, no, I ain't doing it that way. I won't do it that way. I ain't gonna do it that way. It's gotta be my way. And we brought that street element, but we still made a classy show at the same time. Great relationship with Martin and Gina. Martin and Gina is one of the most talked about couples to ever grace the television screen.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
And I think it's gonna go down. That show will be playing long after we all gone. Just like I Love Lucy still playing. Ozzie and Harriet, Lucille Ball, Lucy, The Honeymooners. Yeah. It'll be on way after we gone, man.
All right. So once you went on ahead and did that, what did you get into next? I mean, it's kind of hard to go from Martin to...
No, you know what? From there, I got into the film business. I wrote A Thin Line Between Love and Hate with Martin and another cat, Kenny Buford. We wrote that film. We sat down, Martin had an idea. We would listen to the song. He was like, yo, that's a movie, man. And I was like, I feel you. And he was like, it could be like a Black Fatal Attraction. I feel you. So I started listening to what he was saying, and I listened to the song, and it was like, yo, those lyrics are incredible when you think about, here I am laying in a hospital, bandaged from feet to head. And that's how we wanted to end the movie, just like the song did. But what got him to that point? And that was messing with a woman's heart when she lets you know, don't say you love me unless you really love me.
Right.
And so we came up with that, and then I ended up hooking up with the Oscar winner, Jamie Foxx.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? He was an Oscar winner when I got with him, but I knew he would be something beyond a sitcom star. I knew that he'd be a giant in the industry, and he has done just that. You know, he went on to do legendary stuff, but it all started, you know, with a little show called The Jamie Foxx Show that I created. I created it with Jamie, and he had a vision too, and totally different from Martin, different vibe, Southern boy.
Was that hard to because their styles are different, even though they're similar, they're completely different.
Completely, no, completely two different guys. Again, Jamie's a Southern boy. Martin was an East Coast boy, and you know, it was like they had two different ideologies on how they saw it. And Jamie saw, you know, Jamie's more of a musician. He's more of a Renaissance man. I call him the modern day Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, he does it all, and he can throw a football about 80 yards. You know what I'm saying? He's an athlete. He songwriter. You know, you got a chance to really see what he could do when he did Ray. You know, it blew me away when I sat there at the premiere and watched it on. I couldn't believe I was watching, you know, my guy doing Ray Charles, and doing it justice. Right. And then the world saw it, and they gave him that Oscar. They gave him that because he deserved it. He beat Leonardo DiCaprio out that year.
Yeah.
He beat him out that year. If it wasn't for him, Leo would have got that Oscar for Aviator. But he beat him out that year because he put his heart and soul into that thing. He dug deep. He dug deep. And people, you're watching that movie going, that's the same funny dude? Well, comedians, and Martin as well, they have a different side to them. Because, you know, comedians get their material, in my opinion, from pain. You know, it's like them doing therapy. Right. You know, telling their truth and digging deep into where they came from and what their experiences were, and not necessarily the good experiences, but when you take it and you can make fun of it, people can relate to it. And he was able to do that. You know what I mean? So Jamie was able to do that, and both of those cats were giants. So, you know, there was one season, the first year of the Jamie Foxx Show and the last year of the Martin Show, they overlapped. Right. So I found myself in a position to where I was running both shows at the same time. I'm a young man at the time. I'm 29 years old with that kind of responsibility. That wasn't very easy for me to do. Right. And I don't think that people really understand what that meant, what I was really doing. And I don't think I understood the magnitude of what was happening at that time. It was like, oh, I'm working with this guy, and I'm just doing what I do, and that is putting together a production that I learned. I learned how to do that watching these white boys that I was working for, that were, you know, the executive producers and stuff like that. I watched them and I just emulated them. You know what I'm saying? I saw them doing it and I was like, oh, I could do that. Just imitate this. Okay, I could do that. But I actually learned the business, and I also learned the ability to tell stories and to not just to tell the stories, but to, you know, put the structure together and then hang the comedy in between the story that you're trying to tell. It's not an easy thing to do. Comedy is not easy whatsoever, because you gotta evoke the emotion in somebody to be able to pull that thing out of them to where you make them smile, you make them laugh. You know what I'm saying? It's not hard. It's not an easy thing to do. You know, it's a lot of tough times. But when you can go, I'm gonna throw this out here to the masses, and I'm going to put my opinion on this thing. Now you got to live with that. You got to go, either they're gonna laugh or they're not. You know what I'm saying? It's your reputation that's at hand, and I had to put myself in that position. A lot of times I did stuff that Martin didn't necessarily like. He would go, what is this? What is this in this script? I ain't feeling that. So now you got to go deeper. You got to get with your group of writers, and you got to come with something that's better or funnier, or that he can take and make it his own. See what I'm saying? If you recall those characters that he did on the Martin Show, you can't necessarily write that stuff because he put his heart and soul in those characters and made them jump off the page. But then once you saw him do it, then it was like, oh, I know how to write for that character now because he wants to do this. He's gonna go here. And you gave him what, you know, we sometimes we would create the character and give it to him, but then he would take it from 5 to 10. Now we got to keep up because we put him in that position to win. He won.
Right.
Now he's like, what else y'all got? So we got to step it up. We're the unsung. I was always the unsung hero. I still say that I'm an unsung hero in this whole black comedy thing. You know what I'm saying? I think that a lot of people don't know who I am. I chose to be behind the scenes because I felt like it's more important for me to be important as opposed to being famous.
You dig that.
Yeah.
You got
always wanted to be important.
Message.
Yeah, message.
So all right, I'm with you. We flowing right now.
You feel me?
All right, so now where did we go now? Where did we go after? Because the two shows overlap, and you had good runs with both of them.
Both of them.
All right. So where do we go after that?
I took a lot of time down. One thing that I would always say to anybody is, when you got your foot on the gas, don't step on the brake unless you see a red light. And then sometimes you got to run that. In other words, I let my foot off the gas. And I took some time off to raise my kids and see what else was going on in the world. But I had the lane, and I kind of backed off a little bit. So I didn't put everything that I had into it because when you're getting success, you're having success in a certain area, and you're making money. You never think the money's gonna stop.
No, you don't.
You never think the success is gonna stop because you figure, I'm in here, I made it, I'm in the game. So they're gonna keep messing with me. But then I hit a couple of brick walls where they wasn't messing with me like that anymore.
Right.
And so, after the Jamie Foxx show, I found myself in a position of going, dang, I can't even get hired, right? How is that? I'm one of the only ones, that has done this at this level, and they're not respecting me in the same way they would do, quote unquote, for a white guy. You know what I'm saying?
No,
and I've seen it happen.
I can dig it.
So I just took that time down, man, and just had to regroup and figure it out, take my lumps, and then I had to reinvent myself. I reinvented myself. I said, since nobody's gonna give me an opportunity, I gotta make an opportunity for myself. I did a late night talk show for the Orlando Jones show. That was something different for me, but I still felt like I was wading in the water, just kind of taking a check, but it wasn't fulfilling what I really wanted to do.
All right.
And what I really wanted to do was make everybody see me as that creator, as that producer that can bring the funk. I can really bring something if you give me an opportunity. And nobody was giving me opportunity, so I ended up shooting this show I did called Love That Girl. And TV1, that's right, starring Tatiana Ali. And the way that came about was I saw what Tyler Perry was doing. Now here's what happened. I got invited to the Kodak Theater for a play that Tyler was doing. I think it was one of his first earlier plays. And I went to the dude, he was backstage, and I had to go, let me see who this Tyler Perry dude is, right? So I go backstage and I rolled up on him. I was like, hey, Tyler, what's up, man? I'm Bentley Evans, I want to meet you. He says, I know who you are. I said, you know me? He said, do I know you? He said, hey man, look, I'm from Georgia. They might not give you your roses here in Hollywood, but we know who you are down south. Brother, I want to be just like you. Well, my thought was, I just read in the papers that you made $50 million doing stage plays. Bro, I'm trying to be like you. So we had our little laugh and everything, but he said one thing that really changed everything for me, because he said, the one thing you got that I don't have, you got TV. And I said, yeah, but TV is a different animal. You can't just really pimp TV like that. You know what he said? Watch me. He said, watch me. And I was like, what this dude talking about, right? I had that same attitude. What's this dude talking about? Until I saw them commercials for House of Pain on TV, that it's coming soon.
Right.
It blew my mind because he did it. And I said, oh, this dude's out of here. He's on his way. But what he showed me was that you can create your own destiny. You can create your own content. You can write your way out of any situation. And so when I saw him do it, it made me go, hey, this dude was kind of looking up to me at one point in time. I should be able to take his model and do that. So I created the Love That Girl out of that. And I was able to go out. It was the first time I ever created a show. Went out and got my own distribution. I went out and negotiated my own deals. I didn't have to ask anybody for nothing. And we got that thing on TV. And that was very impressive to me. I was very impressed with my ability to be able to create a show, shoot a show, and everything that I had learned about television making, everything that I had learned by watching and being on a show, I learned. I didn't know what I knew. I didn't know that I knew how to build sets. So when I shot Love That Girl, I took the furniture out of my own house. I went and hooked up with one of my old homeboys, Raphael Sadiq, and said, hey man, can I shoot at your spot? He said, what you shooting? I said, you believe in this? Come be a producer on this thing with me. He said, I'll do the music. I started pulling my resources together because I needed to make this project happen. And we took this little project that was just an idea in my head. I did something that most writers would never do. I created this show, but I didn't write a pilot. I wrote 10 episodes as if the show already existed. Because in my mind, I was like, that's the only way I'm gonna be able to do this. I have to convince myself that this show already exists. I'm gonna write these episodes. And I know people are, family members, what's he doing in the room in there? What's he doing in there? I'm coming up with this idea. And I got, people involved. I got my sister involved to come write some stuff with me and different folks. And we came up with this show. And then we went ahead and shot it. I had to go get some money from some people. I had to ask a couple of cats for a couple of little favors. I had to go grab Martin and say, yo man, can I put your name on here as an exec producer? And I think if you help me with that, I can make something out of this. So we took, an idea, and we ended up doing 65 episodes with TV One, which was impressive. I mean, all on our own. We self-financed that thing and got TV One to license them from us. And it wasn't a very easy task. The respect. Black people are a trip. Black people don't give you the respect. If I was doing that for a white network or something, they allowed me to do it, they would have been singing praises. But them black folks are like, it's all right, I don't know. Black people, we just got egos. But I was able to make that happen, man, and then keep going, man, and keep building. And I did another show called Family Time. And shoot, that's
Bounce, right?
That's Bounce TV. We did 91 episodes of that show. Again, it was the same thing. Coming up with an idea, making it work. I had to put my son to work. He was 12 years old. I said, you're gonna play the boy on the show. You ain't acting, you better learn how to act, because I can't afford to go grab one of these kids in one of these movies. You gonna be the son. And we created this show, and we had a lot of guest stars that came through. Whitfield to, you name it, Lawrence Hilton Jacobs and George Wallace. A lot of people came and did guest star spots on that show. Again, we got 91 episodes. Then I went and did my show In the Cut. And I did the same thing. I took the same business model, but here's what I did that most people wouldn't have the balls to do. I shot these episodes out of my own pocket. I had to go use my money and get with other people and get some money just to shoot these shows. And then I went out and went to the network, and my motto was, hey, look, if you don't want to buy the shows, I understand that. How about I give them to you? No, I'm gonna give you these episodes. You put them on the air. I believe in me. So if they don't do nothing, I'll walk away. But if they get you some ratings, just order more from me. That was my motto on that. You know what I mean?
All right, I see.
Yeah, and I did those shows for Family Time. I did 8 years, 8 seasons. In the Cut, I did 7 seasons. And so it kept me busy all the way up until about 2019. You know what I'm saying? Kept me busy. Unfortunately, I wasn't making the money that I was making on those other shows.
Right.
But it was a sense of pride because I owned them and I was making that kind of thing happen. And I said, hey, look, I'm gonna take a warehouse and turn it into a sound stage, which I still have to this day. It's my own studio. The only black-owned studio in LA, in Hollywood, that's making black content. And it's not a matter of black or white, but I'm black and I just kind of have to make stuff for my people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
People really do need to understand that just because you pro-black doesn't mean that you hate other nationalities.
I love everybody. I love everybody. I can't believe that there's racism in the air still to this day. So you don't like me because of my origin? You don't like me because my ancestors came from Africa? So you really don't like me because of the color of my skin? That doesn't make sense to me. No way on earth does that make sense to me. So I never understood racism. But I always felt like, hey, we're just as good as you are. Not better, but just as good. We're all in this together. So I never let racism come into the play. Right. I just felt like I'm pro-black because I'm black.
Right.
I want to see young black kids progress. That's always been my thing. I want us to win. I want everybody to win. We can win together though. There's enough out there for all of us.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's enough to eat, even though they say it ain't.
Yeah.
So all right, so now we did, Who's That Girl? I mean, Love That Girl.
Yep.
And
Family Time.
Family Time, In the Cut.
Yep.
So where do we go from there? Because now we're at 2019.
Yeah, I did a show called Grown Folks. I shot 13 episodes of that. Again, I self-financed that. I felt sometimes you just gotta find a way. It's like, hey, you talking to actors like, hey man, look, I can't afford to pay you this, but I'm gonna pay you this little bit, but if it turns into something, I'll give you some more, but work with me. Right. And you find out that a lot of people in Hollywood, you think they won't come and do it. You think they won't until you ask them. And they see that it's a movement that's going on. You're trying to make something happen, so they get behind you in a way that you would never believe.
Or is that because of your track record?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if it's because of my track record or people just want to be a part of something that's a movement. The track record may have a little bit to do with it.
Because you got bangers. You know what I mean? Like if we rating stuff in the black comedic situation or just comedic situation, period, you kind of like got like Biggie and Pac.
I like that. I never looked at it like that.
I mean, it's a lot of black comedies, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Jeffersons, Good Times, all of that.
Yeah.
And we love them and all of that, but it's just something about Martin. It had people saying the sayings and acting like the dude.
Because it was the first time that Hollywood allowed us to be us unapologetically. What Will Smith did with the Fresh Prince was unprecedented for NBC, right? But look at the situation. It was rich black people that lived in Bel Air, poor hip hop kid that comes and jumps on the screen and jails with his family. It was still a nice, pretty picture. But when we did Martin, it was none of that. It was the first time we came from what's happening to this is the first time you heard somebody say what's up.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I'm doing it my way, and I'm taking and I'm coming here and taking prisoners. And Martin was a trip because Martin was like Martin auditioned for In Living Color, and he didn't get that. He didn't get In Living Color. Tommy Davidson got the role, and Martin was pissed off about that. But he's the type of person that would take a L like that and make it into something. So he came back with a vengeance and said, we're gonna do another show. We're gonna do my show like this, and I'm gonna do the characters that I would have did on In Living Color on my show. And when had you ever seen that before in a sitcom format? Never.
Yeah.
And those characters became iconic, man. I see them on T-shirts.
Jerome, man.
I mean, Romy Rome.
Jerome.
Romy Rome, I created the character on paper. Martin brought what he brought to it and made it pop. But I took all them sayings from my brother. My brother was a funny cat as far as coming up with street lingo and those colloquialisms that come from the hood, right? So all that junk in the trunk, I got that right out of my brother's mouth. My brother said to me one day, he said, "Who is that?" I said, "Oh, that's my wife's sister. I mean, her cousin." He said, "Well, it must be something in the water they drinking, because she sure got a lot of junk in her trunk." I hit the floor because I had never heard it before.
Right.
And I was like, write that down. All that player from the Himalayas.
Oh, yeah.
That was this cat that lived in my neighborhood, Ken. They used to have those little funny street sayings. And I was like, take all that stuff that Hollywood ain't never seen before. We know it. We know all them little sayings and stuff because black people, we creative.
Right.
So we gonna come up with some hood shit. But taking those things and putting them in a script format, nobody's seen that before.
Right.
So it was always gonna work. And taking lyrics from rap songs and putting them into the, into your script writing and stuff. And I was like, that's a niche. Nobody's done that before. That's what Martin was able to do. That's what we were able to do with the Martin Show. Like I said, Jamie, totally different thing. Totally different thing. Totally different thing.
But he had multiple characters as well, though.
He had multiple characters, and he was coming from In Living Color, but still, it was the heart of that show was not the same as the heart of Martin's show. Jamie was he was just a different performer. And we put it in a hotel setting. That wasn't my idea, that was his idea. I just said, let me create the characters, and I put the characters around it to make it work. And we did over 100 episodes. I think we did 137 episodes of Martin. We did 100 episodes of the Jamie Foxx Show. So combined, that's 237 episodes of TV. A lot of exec producers never even get to that. So both of those shows put me in a position to where it should have been here.
Right.
It didn't go down, but it went here. And I was like, how come I'm not here? Because you have to make that happen for yourself. But also, black people, you gotta understand that my perspective is, we running in the same race, they just got shoes, we don't. So we gotta run a little bit faster, a little bit harder. You know what I mean? I got out the industry, man. I started flipping the real estate. I learned that game from a friend of mine. I was like, man, my pops was a real estate broker.
All right.
So I learned, hey, let me go out here because they not messing with me. I'm gonna go out here and learn this other game. I started flipping real estate and it got good. I hooked a lot of people up. I mean, the comedian Chris Spencer, actor Chris Spencer, I put him in his house. He still lives there to this day. I flipped him a house. I flipped Kevin Hart his first house, right? And a whole bunch of others through that process. And I was like, oh, I like this just as good as I like the entertainment industry. You go in there, decorate a house, hook it up, put it on the market, sell it for $100,000 more than you paid for it. It's a win.
Right.
It's a win, right? But nah, it didn't satisfy that thing.
All right.
Nah, that thing was still yearning. It was still calling me. You need to be creating stuff and coming up with art, the art form. And that's how I got back, when I got back in. And me and Jamie, one thing about this business, it's all about relationships.
Yes.
And this COVID shit that's going on right now, it actually brought me and Jamie back together.
Oh, wow.
In a crazy way, because again, we black people, so we got egos. So, I kind of stayed away from Jamie for a lot of years. Not that I loved him. I love him still to this day, but it was more so like, oh, he's doing this thing in the movies, and I'm still over here doing my thing, and our worlds just didn't collide. But my ego got taken out of it during this COVID period, and I actually went to Jamie's house when it first started. I got a mask on, the whole 9 yards. And it was crazy because when he saw me, it was like magic again. It was like, hey, Bentley, me and Bent won together. It was almost like, I always use the scenario of Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. So I always go, if Michael Jordan came back to the NBA today, who does he pick as his number 2? Does he pick LeBron? Does he pick Kobe Bryant? He could pick from anybody who's ever played the game. Who does he pick? It only makes sense for him to pick Scottie Pippen, no matter what, because they won together. So I think Jamie saw me as, hey, we won together, and he was doing something. So he said, you know what? it's good that you came over here because I got something. And 6 months later, we were completing a new show that me and Jamie just did for Netflix called Dad Stop Embarrassing Me. But it was because of putting the ego aside and using this pandemic as seeing the positive in the negative.
All right.
And I went over there and, I checked my ego at the door and came in. I didn't ask him for anything, but I didn't have to because the relationship was all there. He needed somebody in my position, so why not be me as opposed to just somebody in my position?
Right.
And so now we're back rocking and rolling again. And I think there's a lot of other things that are coming out of it that we got a lot of big stuff that we're gonna do. We got a lot of big stuff that we're gonna do. I feel good. I feel good. I feel real good about.
You over there shining now, so I'm just saying.
No. You know what? I feel real good about the position right now, man, because we are winning again. Nothing like winning.
Yes, sir.
Ain't nothing like winning. We all love to win. I want to win. And so when you feel like you're a part of something, isn't that a blessing? To be a part of something good? And it just makes you stick your chest out a little bit and you feel like people around you are proud of you and you're back in the game and stuff like that. Haters are gonna hate, so you're gonna have them too. You're gonna have the naysayers and you're gonna say, he only got back because that's his boy, he hooked him up. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to go. That's how we're supposed to do. Look out for each other. And that's what he did for me and put me back in a power position. I'll say this. I saw it on Instagram somewhere, and I said that's a quote that I use, and it was a real boss puts other people in position to feed their families. It puts people in positions to become bosses. It's okay to be a follower if you're following to eventually lead.
Right.
You got to follow a little bit just to get the game, soak it up. You know what I'm saying? But then when you become in a position of leadership, lead.
All right.
Lead. And you don't have to lead with an iron fist. Just lead and be a good leader. And then everything will come to you. That's the way I see it.
So is it the bad, like, all right, you got bad, you got good in this, you know what I mean, based on how you just broke it down? So do you focus more on better yet, is it the bad outweighs the good and you just gotta bear through it until you can get to where you're trying to get to? Or are you saying?
Well, I think
how do you stay yourself if you're going through that? You dig what I'm saying?
I think you're gonna go through the bad times, you're gonna go through the good times. I mean, you're gonna go through financial crisis, you're gonna go through just ups and downs. That comes along with it. But for every loss is a gain because if you look at a loss as a lesson as opposed to a loss, then you just look at it like, okay, that's something I had to learn from. I look at it and say, man, you know what, man, if I would have had $10 million back in the 90s, I would be here. But I don't know that because I had to take some L's to know what an L feels like, to know that I don't want to take that L again. You know what I'm saying? And I have personally taken L's in this business, in the entertainment industry, that nobody really even knows about, or some people know and don't really care, but I know, and I have to deal with those L's, those losses that I've taken, right? But I look at everything that's happened to me as a learning experience, something that I could take and profit from later. I've had some that would just blow your mind when you go, why aren't these people messing with me like I feel like they should if I was quote unquote white?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I was show running.
But is that the thing? That's got to be your focus? I get it, you doing the PC thing, but I'm saying that's got to be your focus, knowing when you're going in there, like, yo, are they really gonna deal with me because I'm black?
Well, in a lot of cases, I used to hate to play the race card because, talking with my pops, my father used to say, hey man, I never dealt with racism because I just ignored it. It. In my opinion, it didn't really exist. But my father was born in 1928. You don't think he saw some racism? You don't think he got shitted on by somebody?
Right.
But he said that he never felt it because he always felt like he was equal to everybody, that he was never lesser than, right? And I used to listen to those conversations when I was young, Pops just talking, but then I got older and started understanding what he was saying.
I can do it.
Right? And so I know for a fact that I'm just as equal to any man. There's no man that's better than me, no matter what his race or religion or whatever his beliefs are. However, we're not the gatekeepers. We're not the guys that are signing the deals. We're not the guys that control the distribution. We don't have that benefit. We don't have that advantage. It's he who controls the distribution is the one that wins. We haven't got to that position yet. Think about it. We don't have any black-owned companies.
That's true.
OWN is not black-owned.
No,
BET is not black-owned.
I got you.
TV One's not black-owned.
Why not, though? Why not?
Why aren't they? Because
what happens? Why don't we have one?
Well, because what happens was when we start them, they come dangling that carrot in front of them, and we sell. We sell out. One of the things that Ice Cube said that was interesting about his Big 3 League, he said, you know, they're gonna come and they're gonna wanna buy it. He said, but I'd be a fool to sell it. Well, I respect that, but at the same time, they just didn't come to you with the right offer yet, because at some point in time, they could offer you enough to where you say, I'm gonna get on out of this thing, right? See, the new thing is the billionaire, right? What black people are billionaires? It's not that many of us. It's not a lot of black billionaires out there. So if somebody came and dangled that carrot and said, I'll give you $1 billion to buy into your situation, I don't know that Ice Cube or any other entrepreneur would turn that down, because it's a lot of money. And that's what we do. We end up, they dangle that carrot and we sell.
So what does it do? It just boils down to what we doing and what, I mean, is it haves and have-nots? Is that what we discuss it? Or is it just more of like, yo, you gotta really squab, you know what I mean, while you in here?
No, you know what, we're coming into the realm of the haves and have-nots. I mean, it's almost like they're phasing out the middle class in a sense.
All right.
And it is gonna be all about the haves and the have-nots, but for me, it's gotta be about the haves, because I can't relate to the have-not. You know what I'm saying? I've been in positions where my money was low, right? And I'm looking around going, dang, this dude's worth more than me. She's worth more than me, or whatever. But I never took it as a losing spirit. I just feel like I'm down now. Right. So what do I do to get back up? I learned from all my mistakes and my lessons that I endured and everything. And now I just got to take it to the next level. That's just the way I think. So for me, I got out the game for a minute. I was down, but never out. And I came back with a vengeance and caught them all by surprise.
Yeah, I dig that. Well, we don't have a whole lot more to talk about, because you just getting that part started. So I ain't gonna tap in on a whole lot of stuff that we normally would get into. But I do want to say this before we get out of here.
All right.
Where you from?
I'm born in the Bay.
I got you.
I'm raised in LA.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? So my heart and soul is Los Angeles, California. That's where I did all my time. I've never lived anywhere else other than here. Never would. This is it for me. West Coast 100%, but LA is my heart and soul, and I'm gonna be here for the duration.
Well, sir, Mr. Bentley Evans.
Yes, sir.
Until we do this next one, because we're doing the next one because you got too much going on.
Come on, man, anytime, bro.
I want to thank you, and I want to say we appreciate you, and congratulations. Let's say that.
Thank you, sir.
But we thank you for tapping in, and we're going to help y'all understand more about Bentley as we do more interviews and things of that nature. So once again, like I said, what's the Get Down, and we out.
What's the Get Down?
I'm on that brainwash, full rollout, anonymous. Underplay the overplay, strategic, I promise. More dope brings more Negroes. Watch them heroes, pro lethal. Dream killers feast on people. Nubius in need, mine on the hunt. Paul Bear, sharp fluid gates and piston bumps. No excuses, that's a sin. Back to the begin. Muscle memory, pseudo respect and revenge. Plays blindfolded, a bucket list with interest. Forgiveness, the shadows and mirrors who handle business. Legacy, all grind, no guest list. Land in jurisdiction, make you bread prejudice. For the purists and the tourists, Q sticky for ghetto jurors. Swing high, swing low, you forgot that we do this. Bank selection, smooth DR vibe. Underground icon, you have now been gentrified.